It's been 4 months now, and here are my thoughts on the Fujifilm X-M5 as your everyday camera. I'm just gonna jump straight out and say it. This thing is absolutely amazing, and I'm pretty sure that in years to come, even after they stop making this camera, people are desperately going to be searching for this specific model, and here's why. Now, first of all, this video is not sponsored. I bought this camera with my own money, and after 3 days, I made a video. I also made a video after 3 weeks discussing all the things I had discovered about it, and I was gonna make a video after 3 months, but I didn't quite make the 3-month mark. So here's my 4-month update on the camera. Now, overall, a lot of my opinions haven't changed on the camera, but there are a few ways that I am discovering interesting things about it, which make it even better in some ways than I realized in those initial 3 weeks. First of all, I've removed the thumb grip. You may remember in my previous video, I showed you I had this thumb grip, and if you slide one of these onto the camera, it does make it a little bit easier to use. I've got the small rig metal grip here, which adds a little hand grip, which means that you can just kind of dangle it from your hands like this. But what I discovered over time is that, one, you don't have access to the Q button, which I still don't use, but I discovered that if I remove this grip, actually the way I use the camera hasn't really changed almost at all. And the reason is that I use this. This is a Peak Design strap. Having a strap makes it very easy to stabilize your camera because you kind of pull it on your neck and you end up becoming like a human tripod in a way, or monopod. Well, you'd be a bipod, I guess. If I need to get exactly the right length to have exactly the right shot, I can just pull on this very easily, get it right here, take the picture. Absolutely no issue not having a viewfinder. Obviously, there are some situations, because it's a 40mm fixed prime lens, there are some situations like I would like to get a little bit closer, but now I can't see the screen. Sometimes you'll just end up taking a picture, not looking at the screen, and that's also totally fine. I think people who use the Ricoh GR3 or the GR4, that's kind of the ethos of the camera. It's kind of like, I'm not looking through the viewfinder, I'm just gonna take a picture from here and I'm gonna go with whatever image I got. Which is also kind of my ethos with the X-M5 in general. This is not like the full frame A9 Sony Ultra Beast. This is a camera with good autofocus, but this lens is not particularly fast. Which brings me on to my next point. The fact that the camera isn't the greatest camera of all time on every single feature is kind of nice, because it makes me choose specifically when to use this camera and when to get out my big camera. Now, I don't call it my main camera, I call it my big camera for a reason, and it's because the main thing about this camera is that it's bigger than the other one. Otherwise, I would just use this all the time. It's a full frame camera, so it needs full frame lenses, and so even at the same 40mm, you'll end up with a bigger lens. The things that it doesn't do the same way that a full frame camera can makes it very easy for me to distinguish, this is an X-M5 moment. This is like 85, 90% of my life is an X-M5 moment. And then like the other 10%, when I know exactly what kind of shot I'm trying to get, and I know exactly how I'll be able to manipulate it later in the post, that's when I get this out and I'm like, yes, I'm glad I've got both. The lens I chose to put on here is an extremely compact 40mm full frame equivalent. So it's actually 27mm. I absolutely love 40mm. It is wider than 50mm, just enough that, one, it forces me to step back if I'm too close to my subject, and two, it also forces me to add some context, where on my big camera, because I've got a 50mm, which can zoom out to 24, so I'm almost taking every photo at 50mm, just because it's easier to compose. That's why they say 50mm is like a good focal length for beginners. You can just cut out a lot of the distracting stuff in the background and just take pictures of people and make every single person the main character. It's actually a massive issue with photography in general. It's everyone just taking pictures of themselves. Selfies, photos of literally just a person's eyeball or a person's face. They are sometimes beautiful photos, but a lot of photos don't have context in them anymore. They make them you just get kind of fatigued from looking at a bunch of faces. I've been looking at a lot of photo albums recently. I'm like, wow, every photo in this album is just a zoom up on someone's face. It's almost like we didn't actually go anywhere on holiday. Now, the other thing about this 40mm lens is that it's an f2.8, which means it is not super bokeh-licious. The fact that this lens is not a bokeh beast does force me to use other aspects of the photo to make it interesting or make it a photo worth looking at later. Again, like composition or fiddling around with the color film simulations and getting the right colors, or just contrast, angle, all the other aspects of photography that make things interesting, apart from just, wow, the background is really blurry. Now, regarding the size, this is an important update I want to share with you. It is not a pocketable camera, and that's fine because most of us still carry around our phones with us. Although this is my everyday camera, there are still many moments in my day where I'm like, I need to take a photo on my phone. It's going to turn on faster, also going to be in focus, and I'm also going to be able to take video. When I use the video shortcut on here, I mentioned this in my previous video, you press it on here and it goes instantly into autofocus. And if you've got this particular lens on it, the lens is just really loud and annoying. And so you hear the focus motor spinning and also the digital image stabilization in here. Don't rely on this for video. Removing those focus motor sounds, I think we can already cancel that out with software. So I'm not scared of using the video on here. I will use it, but if I want a video that looks nice without any kind of processing and fixing later, I just take it on my iPhone and I'm fine with that. What's important to me is that I have a physical camera as my EDC, because at least that way I know 95% of the photos I take are going to be photos taken with intention, photos taken with all the benefits that come from a dedicated camera, which I'm not going to try and explain all right now. I think I demonstrated this briefly in my video before, but I usually have it kind of here on my front, or if necessary, I'll swing it around to the back, make it even shorter and have it prevent it from, swinging around and actually bashing into my wall. If you actually want this to be your EDC, you need to get in tune with the idea that every day you're going to be wearing your camera as your accessory, just like you put a watch on, just like you put your sunglasses on or your glasses on, or if you wear a hat every day. I consider this something that is just part of me. When I go out, I strap this to me, or at least I have it in my bag. And when I feel like, okay, photo opportunities are coming up, I'll strap it to me using the strap. But again, I almost always have my phone in my pocket or in my bag, easy to access. So basically, I'm never going to be like, I wish I had a Ricoh GR4 in my pocket. You'll probably be thinking, should I just get the Ricoh GR3 or the GR4, which is both are very expensive cameras, very, very capable, incredible cameras. But the thing is, they still have that built-in telescoping lens, and it does suck in dirt. I hear that it's better on the GR4 now. Do I really want to be putting that in my pocket? Which is just, no matter what you do, dust does build up in pockets. That's just how pockets work. So those are a lot of the pluses and minuses of the X-M5. And in summary, I would just say that I feel like the balance is perfect. This camera does a lot of things better than other cameras, especially the fact that it's a Fuji. So the colors that come out of here, I actually like. But at the same time, it doesn't have as many buttons or as many features as the Sony, and so sometimes I will choose the Sony. It helps me know very clearly when to use this one and when to use that one. Now, one of the things that still bothers me is that photometry, which is the exposure settings on here, they are completely linked to your focus mode. So if you have face or eye detection on, it doesn't let you use center weighted or, spot weighted. It doesn't let you use any kind of exposure setting that would make sense for a photographer. It's just like, okay, you've got face and eye detection on. That means you want that person's face and eye to be perfectly exposed. It's like, no, I would actually like to have some contrast in this image. Why, Fuji? Why is it like that? And why hasn't it been fixed? Then again, I do think there's hope, because they do change things for the better, especially, again, we're going to talk about this now, the X-E5. Now, I haven't tried an X-E5. I'm fairly certain that they haven't actually changed this feature yet. But one thing I have heard that's better on the X-E5 is that the film simulation dial now has custom recipes as an option. X-E5 doesn't have that, which means that when I want to switch from continuous focus, if I want to switch to spot focus, which is AF single, not continuous, I have a shortcut where I just swipe on the screen and instantly I go into my custom mode, autofocus single. But the problem is that it also changes all the other settings. So if I had my shutter speed set to 1/60th, or if I had changed my ISO settings to be like minimum shutter speed 125, a lot of those settings will just get switched to whatever is set on my custom setting. Now, I haven't tried the X-E5 yet, but as I understand it, custom film recipes can be set to only change certain aspects. So I only want it to affect the colors of the image, but I want to leave all of my dial settings as they are. You can't do that on the X-M5. When you switch to Custom 1, it switches everything to whatever the settings were in Custom 1. Now, you may think that's a good enough reason to switch over to the X-E5 instead of the X-M5, but the thing is, the X-E5 is quite a bit bigger than the X-M5. The X-E5 is also significantly more expensive. I don't remember exactly how expensive it is, but this camera keeps, it's not on sale, but it's like, they have kept the low price for this. I don't know how long that's going to last because of tariffs and all that. Like, if you can get this camera at the low price it is now, you absolutely should. Because in my opinion, it pretty much does everything the X-E5 does it, but in a smaller package, and just doesn't have that custom recipes feature. The other thing is that the X-E5 has a dedicated switch for AFC, AFS, and manual focus. I would love to be able to switch between those with an actual physical switch, but at the moment I have to like swipe on the screen, swipe up and down until I get there and then select it. It's not as fast, but that keeps bringing me back to my main point. If you're going to be changing settings like that to that level of detail, you have to ask yourself, is your EDC the camera you should be using? At that point, you should ask yourself, am I trying to capture memories and, just use a good camera to take a good picture and use all the composition elements and all that stuff? Or am I trying to take a studio portrait while I'm out and about? If that's the case, get out your other camera. Get out the big camera. That's what it's for. It just reminds me, I'm using this because it's every day. I'm in an everyday situation, and that's why I'm using my everyday camera. I think what we're constantly fighting against as photographers is the temptation to go overboard with the settings when we're in a situation where really I just need to press the button and capture the moment. Listen, I'm going to leave it there for my thoughts after 4 months with the X-M5 by Fujifilm. I still absolutely adore this camera. The fact that it can't do certain things that my Sony can doesn't bother me at all. It has completely redisciplined me when it comes to taking pictures every day. It has reminded me what the point of taking pictures is every day. When you've got a big full frame camera or micro four thirds or APS-C, it doesn't really matter. When you've got a big camera, which is capable because it has more buttons, more megapixels, more bokeh, more lenses, more selections, more options, you completely lose yourself in the process and you forget about what was really important to you when it comes to taking pictures every day. When you've got an everyday camera, choosing something like this reminds you that you just need to press the button and take the picture. Now, I'm not saying don't think about all the things that you love with photography. I'm not saying forget about composition, forget about lighting, forget about contrast, forget about timing. I'm not saying to forget those things. You can completely think about all those things, but the fact that the camera doesn't have all the size advantages and button advantages of your bigger camera means that it really actually teaches you how to be a better photographer by adapting to your everyday situation. It's not a wedding shoot, and it's not a portrait studio shoot. It's an everyday camera that you're going to use to take pictures of you, your family, your friends, or just the places that you're going and the sites that you're seeing, or if you're using it for street photography. I have never been more happy with a purchase ever. And even after the X-E5 has come out, I looked at the size and the price of that thing, and I thought, it doesn't actually bring me what I need from an everyday camera. I think actually, if I even had the money, I would still choose the X-M5, just because it's smaller and it's a little bit more in keeping with my mindset when it comes to everyday photography. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Man, I love this camera so much. What I really want to do now, I think, is, well, I'll probably give you either a 6-month update or a 1-year update on the X-M5 to show you where I'm at. But I think the next thing I really want to try with this camera is to buy the 23mm. So why am I doing it with this? I really want to try out the 23mm Fujifilm X-F lens that they came out for with the X-E5. Then again, I might not. I might just stick with 40mm because it is working incredibly well. And again, I like what it's doing for redisciplining me when it comes to my everyday photography. So hopefully if I can get some money together, or if Fuji actually sells that lens individually, I'll be able to try that out. But for now, that's been my 4-month impressions of the X-M5. I've been Nihongo Gamer. This is Focus Lines. Make sure you're subscribed for more. I'll see you real soon.